Looking for new ways to enjoy chess? Check out our schedule of chess.com community events today. Mondays, play rapid opening roulette and expand your opening repertoire with a new opening each month. Tuesdays, compete against other untitled players in Untitled Tuesday. Battle your way to the top in Arena Kings on Wednesdays. And finish the week off each Saturday with the blistering Community Bullet Brawl. All happening in the Community Club on chess.com. Looking for new ways to enjoy chess? Check out our schedule of chess.com community events today. Mondays, play rapid opening roulette and expand your opening repertoire with a new opening each month. Tuesdays, compete against other untitled players in Untitled Tuesday. Battle your way to the top in Arena Kings on Wednesdays. And finish the week off each Saturday with the blistering Community Bullet Brawl. All happening in the Community Club on chess.com. Looking for new ways to enjoy chess? Check out our schedule of chess.com community events today. Mondays, play rapid opening roulette and expand your opening repertoire with a new opening each month. Tuesdays, compete against other untitled players in Untitled Tuesday. Battle your way to the top in Arena Kings on Wednesdays. And finish the week off each Saturday with the blistering Community Bullet Brawl. All happening in the Community Club on chess.com.
Okay, now. So, hi everyone, this is Ajalen Martinez. I am part of the community team and I promise that I'm not going to be the one playing today, so don't worry. Kaas Corley is going to be here, so you will have the chance to play against any international master. Anyone can challenge, so any chess.com member can just send the challenge. Just let us know here in the chat. You have to actually do the exclamation challenge in both chats. We are live in YouTube and Twitch. So make sure that you are actually let us know that if you want to play. The challenges are going to be 3 minutes plus 2 seconds. So we will have a lot of games because the Banter Blitz session is 2 hours. So just so you know, here the point of the Banter Blitz is just to have fun. So Kassa, that is the title player that is coming in a few minutes, he's going to be chatting with you, replying anything that you want there in the chat and talk mainly about chess, but if you want to just talk about something else, he might actually join and be open for that as well. And yeah, that's the main thing. And also, just to let you know that we have Jan Gustafsson before, and now we have Kassa. Then we will have on, oh my gosh, June 20 or 21? Let me see. We will have on June 21st, actually, the one and only Danny Wrench. So we will have a lot of Banter Blitz. You will have the opportunity to play against a lot of title players. So hi there, I see Ben in the chat, CMDR, and let me check the other chat as well. So yeah, prepare the challenge because soon we will start. Actually, I'm not sure if the special version here today, the one and only Kaas Corley, is ready. So I think yes. So let me intro. Kaas Corley. Hey.
Hey, what's going on? How's it going?
All good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. It's Wednesday, nice little middle of the week. You're not quite at the weekend yet, but you got Monday behind you and yeah, just in a good vibes, good mood. So,
are you looking forward to play a lot of chess today?
yeah, I'm looking more to just talking to the people, getting some interesting games and hopefully folks enjoy it. Hopefully I can knock off a little bit of rust as well, and yeah, we can just get into it.
Yeah, awesome. So we're supposed to start in 5 minutes. So I actually went live before because I wanted to ask you a few things about you. I know that you were doing streaming before and you were playing sometimes against the people, but when was the last time that you just play against any random user, let's say, on a stream?
Man, I mean, so my streaming days were during the pandemic, so 2020. and basically we were just stuck at home, and I had a situation where I would play chess while also listening to like hip hop and house music, and I called it chess radio. And most people that stream, they like, you save the VODs and do all that stuff. And my approach was to essentially not save anything, so you had to be there to catch it. And so there was it was almost like a Snapchat type of vibe to the proceedings.
So there's no
And
record of you
yeah.
on internet now. You make sure that
Uh
everything is hidden there, like.
yeah, I mean we that it was definitely an adult program, but what's crazy is actually coming out of the pandemic when there were tournaments again, and I was back a bit on the tournament circuit in 2022, or no, sorry, yeah, 2022 and late 2021. There were actually a lot of like juniors that would be like, "Hey, I watched your stream every night." Like, "Hey," like, and it was really cool because a lot of times, things don't come back to you in life. Like people will talk about you or say something, and like it just never comes back. And so it's a really cool thing when it ultimately does. And it was amazing that there were like a lot of young, you know, talented, IMs that became GMs that like, were like, "Oh yeah, no, you were I learned some
Yeah.
things from you." So that
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's nice.
shout out to some of the folks that did. I can actually recall I had this conversation with Andy Woodward and with who is a puzzle battle extraordinaire. Now I think he's a GM now. And there were some other juniors as well. So it was cool. It was cool.
Yeah. I got actually here like a question in the chat. When do we get the Danish language collaboration with Kassa and Ellen Nielsen? I love Ellen, by the way. Like I sent regards to her, like a big hug. I'm very big fan of her. What about your
Yeah,
then?
no, she's great. She's great. Who knows? That could definitely be a possibility.
Are you fluent? Like, are you able to host like an entire stream in
Yeah,
Danish?
I mean, I could definitely do that in Danish. I would say I've never really called myself fluent because I feel like reading and writing is like a component of that, and I need to be a better reader and writer. But as far as like talking about chess is concerned, that's kind of a layup. And actually, in kind of a ode, I switched federations to my Danish federation in when I was in college because I qualified for the Danish championship, and kind of in a ode to that transition, and also to um, my grandfather in Denmark, technically my step grandfather, but he's kind of like my blood. I consider him like my real grandfather. He he because of his kind of like chess interest and how he kind of got me a little bit more involved in the game. I actually notate in Danish to this day. So when if I write down the moves like a knight, instead of a knight in Danish is S, it's a springer, which means jumper, and a bishop is a L, a løber, which means like a
You.
runner, and
Okay.
pawn. This is actually a pawn. Literally translates to farmer. So it's funny
Oh.
how there is
Yeah.
some type of system there in terms of
Yeah.
yeah. So
In
yeah,
Spanish, actually, like the funny thing is like knight is actually horse, caballo, the animal. Like we say caballo is caballo in Spanish from Spain, caballo in
right.
Argentinian Spanish, but it's like the animal and also like the chess piece, like the same thing.
Yeah,
So
no, I played a number of Spanish players over the years, so I know the vibes.
yeah. So anyone can challenge. It doesn't really matter the rating. I'm just replying there in the chat. You just have to write exclamation challenge, and you will see all the instructions on how to send the challenge over there. But basically, Casa will accept challenge in a minute. So I hope that you are ready, Casa. Let me also check
Woo!
with the team if everything is okay. And the only thing that we ask chat, so the people who is in the queue already, that we have the one and only Benjamin there in the chat. Thank you so much, Ben, for everything what you do. But Ben will let you know if you're in the queue. And once that you're in the queue, please go to chess.com/play/online. So wait for the game there, and like magic will happen, and you will see the game. And
Okay.
yeah, so the same for you, Casa. Well, you are
Yeah, no,
already
I'm
there.
I'm in I'm in /play/online. I'm chilling in the cut here. Folks in the chat, feel free to ask questions just about chess or about life or about chess.com. I mean, I'll try to the best of my ability, give you some answers. And yeah,
So
I mean, the chess is the conduit to interesting conversation, I feel like.
yeah. So last thing, and then I'm leaving right now. You are actually international master. I know that you are super close to becoming GM as well, and also you are a streamer. You are like someone that a lot of people. But it's true. Also, you are streaming like a lot of people knew your stream. Content creator, many things. And right now, actually, you are working in chess.com as can you intro your role in chess.com?
Sure. I'm the director of professional relations at chess.com. Basically what that means is I basically deal with a lot of the top players in the world privately, basically do some PR and statements and so on. I work with the community team and Ajay here to help deliver quality events and products to you guys, the community. And I also deal pretty prominently and heavily in the fair play environment. So there's always a big kind of lens on fair play in chess today and anti-cheating measures and a lot of what goes into that I'm leading and a part of, whether it means kind of administrating events, making sure events are run smoothly, and also frankly adjudicating really critical cases. So
Yeah.
when there are instances
Wow,
where
sounds fancy. As you, how you mentioned sounds fancy, but it's actually very hard work. I know, like that, or the fair play and also title players and everything. Like I know actually from inside also that you are doing a great job over there. But anyways, so let's jump to chess. Just last reminder to everyone: you can send the challenge. Just put exclamation challenge in the chat, and you can just anyone can send the challenge, no matter your rating, no matter your gender, no matter where you are from. Like you can just play against the title player, international master Kaas Corley. So Kassa, are you ready?
I am, let's go, Ben. Throwing up on the screen. Let me know what's give me the first. All right. Okay, Dark Neutrino. What's going on? How you doing, Dark Neutrino? All right, so I'm gonna mix it up here and try to play different lines. I see my clock is running here, so I'm gonna start with B3. We're gonna be a little bit it's only right, the date I'm playing under. I'm a Danish player, Danish American, but playing under the Danish flag. It's only right I start with a Bent Larson opening, and here we are in like kind of a main line actually. F6. Okay, F6. What am I supposed to do here? I think I'm gonna go D4 and try to open the center. I suspect that Black will probably try to close it with E4. Yeah, that sounded right to me. And then I'm gonna try and challenge the center again with C4. I basically want to undermine this structure before anything crazy happens. And yeah, actually, I can take on C6 now. I'm wondering if I can actually go back to A4. If I go back to A4, there might be some B5 business. I'm going to take on C6. Now this is actually a very interesting structure because it's extremely reminiscent of a French winnower, actually. Basically, it's colors reversed, essentially. I'm playing like the black side of a French where, basically basically I don't have the bishop pair, but what I do have is what do I have for the bishop pair? Well, I have essentially a slightly better pawn structure potentially later on, and I have maybe some counterplay on the c file essentially. So we'll see what happens with that. Bishop e4 check is an annoying check to deal with. And queen d6. Okay, so they parry the check like that. Typically, when you play in the winnower structure, you're actually happy to trade one of those bishops because there's some weaknesses behind. So I'm actually happy to trade. I can also take on play c5 and close, but I think this trade is actually good outcome for me, and I'm going to block this check with the queen. And yeah, I think basically in the long term, again, it's maybe sometimes weird to talk about the long term so early, but if I'm able to trade these queens, I'm gonna have some nice pressure on the c file. So to queen c5, or sorry, queen d6 makes really good sense not trading queen, saying, nah, I'm not gonna help you out there. And I'm gonna go queen a5. I'm gonna be a little insistent and try to mix it up on this side. Now, I'm not maybe in a rush to castle here very quickly because black does have the space on this side, on the king side. A lot of times you're trying to figure out how to decide what to do with your pieces. Ooh, 97. This is different. Hold on. 97. What should I do? Should I go knight d2 or should I go knight c3? Decisions. I'm gonna go knight d2. It's a little more flexible. I'm looking at the e4 pawn and the c4 pawn. If they take on c4, I have the option of taking on e4 or c4. What I was trying to say earlier before I was rudely interrupted by by a good developing move by Dark Neutrino was that normally the pawns change direction where it's pointing is a good indicator of where black's play is. And you see these pawns are kind of pointed this way. So I got to be wary of that. Bishop g4, that's also kind of an annoying move, hitting my knight on e2, and I'm not going to move it. I'm going to play rook c1. And you might say, what are you doing, Kassa? You're allowing bishop takes e2? Yeah, I am. And I'm actually going to be willing to put my king in the center. And the reason for that is because I think I have excellent play on the c file here. So I'm going to take on d5. And you can see my rook on c1 is open now, open for business. And knight takes d5. Okay, that's a move. But I can take on e4 now with tempo. And I think that should be decent enough, so I'm going to do it. And I got to watch my time here. I'm at 41 seconds. I'm talking too much. Can you tell I haven't done this in a while? And queen d7. Okay, knight c5. That's another tempo gainer. I'm going to make that move as well. And yeah, I'm a clear pawn up, which is nice. And my queen now is kind of in no man's land, so I think I might bring it back shortly. Queen d6. Okay, I'm going to go queen d2, cover my knight on e2. And now and I'm going to take with the queen. And now I'm actually going to castle because why not? There was that option to, again, bring my king to the center, but I was not so concerned about that. So am I better at banter or blitz? Spending time. I mean, I think that's for you to decide. I'm going to castle. I think knight f4, I can go queen f3 and parry it that way. So I think that's just a one mover, or queen c4 check, actually. Knight f4, queen c4 check. I noticed it at the last moment, but it's a good move because this knight is attacked, and now I can take it. Now, you could have blocked with the knight, but I could have gone e4. Okay, we have a resignation because that knight was hanging. That was an interesting game. Not going to front. I think we basically had a win-aware vibe. Just really quick recap here. We had a little win-aware vibe. And, I think black had a little something here, but I think the trading of bishops is where it turned. The trade of dark square bishops kind of helped me. My bishop was locked behind my chain. Your bishop normally tends to be pointing towards my king side. So that was, I think, where things turn, and I got a good position, but good game. All right, who's up next? Ben, throw it up on the screen. Let's go. Let's run it back. All right, Arian Rahimpur, what's going on? How you doing? It's funny. Whenever I think of Arian in the chess world, I think of Arian Tari. So I've played him over the board in Reykjavik. We played. Yeah, no, we had some interesting games. We played 2 games. He nicked me in one game, and then we had a really interesting draw in another game. So, Arian is disconnected. Oh no. You see this? The auto resign in 7 seconds. My man has no bars. He needs to get. Does this man have Verizon? He has T-Mobile, no bars. Because that's that. I mean, some of these providers today are awful. But yeah, Ben, you might have to hook us up with another one. That's a tough. It's tough. At the end of the day, sometimes you're trying to play a game, and it's the most annoying thing when the internet just is compromised. But this isn't a me problem, right? This isn't a me problem, right? Because I see the time is at 1:56, and I think it should auto resign at this point, but we'll see. We'll see. In the meantime, all right, I'm gonna refresh right now. Hopefully nothing crazy happens. Here we go. Nope. All right, still the same boots on the ground. That was Ajalin, by the way, for folks that, maybe just tuned in. The clock is running. It actually is an interesting question. When you play over the board, there's he's back. D4. All right, I'm gonna go. What am I gonna? I'm gonna go D5. I'm gonna go D5. I feel bad that the time is so compromised, but we'll see what Arian's bullet skills are. We are playing with 2-second increment, so I mean we could still get a decent game going here, but especially because I'm talking so much. So, yeah, make sure you heed BJH's announcement here. Make sure you're in play/online, right? So you get connected, queued up, and so on. All right, knight c3. Is this going to be a Jabava London? Yep, bishop f4. That's the vibe. Now, a lot of people play a6 to kind of cover that and just to not deal with knight b5. I don't think knight b5 is the end of the world, so I'm just, give it your best shot. Yeah, knight b5. I'm going to go knight a6. You have to do that to defend the c7 pawn. And then what are we going to do? Now, I know there's something connected to c6 and c5, but I think I'm supposed to castle first. So I'm going to go bishop e7 first and castle. And then I'm going to go c6, c5. Yeah, so c6. Actually, no, c6, knight c3, c5. That actually is a bit annoying because there's bishop takes a6 and knight c6 with a fork. I don't love that. So knight e5 is actually a tricky move. What to do? What to do? 95 is not one I'm familiar with, I must say. Knight d7 is a weird move, retreating moves to try and get rid of this knight. It feels a little unnatural, but that hasn't scared me off before. It's weird when you play a move you know is not good, but I'm going to do it just because it might throw off the scent of my opponent. I know it's not good because this piece is already developed, and I should be trying to connect my rooks, but it might give them a decision to make. Sometimes making these decisions can be tough. I think it's probably good for white if they just keep developing. So to me, I'm looking at like something like bishop d3, or yeah, sometimes they even try to go queen f3 and try to go for some crazy attacks on the h file. Well, my man Arian is losing a lot of time here, so we'll see what goes down. Mason, are we allowed to listen while playing you? I guess not. You know what's crazy? I actually don't mind so much. I mean, I think you could probably play it back after the game anyway. All right, so I'm gonna win on time, but that wasn't much of a game, of course. Well, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And after this 95 move, I was curious what the right move is. So this c5 is what the computer seems to be indicating, or 94. My 97 is not so bad. So there you go. And the computer wants to go knight f3 back, which is crazier. All right, cool. So here we go. Ben, you can, throw it, give us another one. And now we got Gorilla Champ from the UK. Oh, and I played b3 last time. I'm truly gonna try and mix it up. So this time I'm gonna go c4. I'm gonna go for a little English vibes. What's up, Sean? How you hanging? Are you going tonight? I'm on the fence. I think I will. I think I will. I got a little something beforehand, but I probably will be there, typical for me around 8:39. Where are you going, might you ask? There's this really cool like chess meetup bar situation in Brooklyn on Wednesdays called Hassenstubel. And yeah, just like to hang out, have some drinks, maybe even get a game in. All right, so G6. So the one thing about the English move order, and you might say, why am I pausing on move 3, is I have this choice now to basically cut out the Grunfeld. Now, if I played D4 earlier, Black would play D5 here. But now, because I did the C4, knight C3 move order, I can play E4, and the Grunfeld is no longer in the cards. Now, if you're a King's Indian player, you don't care. But if you're a Grunfeld player, you're upset, essentially. You're upset. All right, E5. This is a really interesting move. I don't know what I'm supposed to do against it. That's the problem. That is a problem, but I'm just going to play modestly and develop, and then I suspect there'll be knight c6, and we'll have some type of vibe like that. d6. Okay. So I got to go d4 then. If we're going to do it like this, I gotta take the whole set. I thought you maybe deter d4 a little bit with knight c6. I still could play d4, but you know, it is what it is. All right, and so now we have something reminiscent of a Moroxy bind. It's when the c4 pawn, the e4 pawn are gripping the d5 square like this. And it basically just means I'm the boss in the center. Yeah, who's the boss? Kassa's the boss. Who's the boss? Kassa's the boss. That's what's going on in the center right now. Black, in the meantime, is going to try to develop around the Moroxy bind, and they're going to argue that I might screw up, essentially, because, you know, managing space is a burden. So essentially, I can easily mess it up. Now, here's a very easy way to mess it up. If I castle, it'd be a blunder because there's this bishop on g7 and the knight on d4, or knight on c6 hitting d4. And knight takes d4 is a nifty tactic, which is been seen 1,001 times before. So I have to deal with this knight. I can go knight c2. I can go bishop e3 and defend the knight, or I can take. Taking is probably the least desirable. I'm going to go knight c2. Am I going to? Yeah, I'm going to. And the point is like when you have more space, typically you want to keep minor pieces on the board. So I have more space, so I'm not trying to trade. You feel me? That's the vibe. All right, so I got to pick it up on the clock. I'm talking way too much, but I'm trying to, you know, give you a little bit of the secret sauce here. So, all right, so rook e8, I'm going to go f3, defend that. Now, normally, apologies, Ben Feingold, I know pushing the f pawn is not the vibe, but it's really the best way here to defend the e4 pawn. If bishop f3, there was knight e5 hitting it. So, this is the best way to do it. And now my king's a little bit exposed in this diagonal. But normally when you have this F3 business, there's C6, Queen B6 check, and that's not remotely a problem here. So we're straight. A6, B5 is not really threatening right now. So I'm going to go bishop E3 and keep developing. Got to develop. You know what I'm saying? Gots to. Bishop E6. Okay. Not really a concern. I'm going to go Queen D2. 95 or knight might attack the c4 pawn, but then I'm going to go b3, and I'm going to have all my ducks in a row, essentially. Everything will be nice and covered. I'm going to connect my rooks. By the way, folks, adults, children, others, the side that connects their rooks first, in most cases, I'm telling you, is actually the side that wins the game. And so connect your rooks first, and you have a really good shot to win. I'm not even capping. So, yeah. All right, so I'm hitting d6 right now. The rooks are connected. I got this rook on a1 out of the pesky diagonal. The only issue is my time. So I got to step up the clock situation, and that's hopefully will be resolved in a little bit. Queen a5. Do I want to trade queens? I can go knight d5 and trade queens. I think I do want to trade queens. Oh, no, but a2 is hanging. Whoa, hold on. Hold the horses. All right, I'm going to go a4 first. I'm going to not allow that pawn to be captured, and then we'll see what goes on from there. Maybe knight d5, knight c7 wasn't a big deal. But my time, I got to really watch my time. I'm a little bit too frisky on the clock. So, all right, so we trade the queens. I'm taking on f6 first with check. And then I'm recapturing, and now I'm going to double rooks. And this d6 pawn is a target. I'm hoping it's a target. If it's not a target, then I'm mistaken. But I'm angling with this d6 pawn being a target. So let me stop talking and step it up a little bit. Okay. All right, I have a little time advantage. I'm going to take that one. That's a big time pawn, and now c5 is hanging also. And I think I got this one in the bag. I'm gonna go king f2 just to get my king a little bit closer. And oh, I won on time. A little bit closer, just a closer shave with the clock. But I think white is in charge here. I have an extra pawn. My pieces are good. I could take this bishop. I probably should have taken that bishop. That was a tough game. Tough game. But yeah, all about that little Grunfeld, that anti-Grunfeld move with E4. If you don't like to play against the Grunfeld, start with C4, knight C3, and then go E4, then no Grunfeld. So, all right, Ben, hit me. Hit me. All right, Bob the Builder beat you chess. That's a name. E4. All right, where are we gonna go? Where do we want to go? You know what? I don't play many Sicilians, but we're gonna bring it out. We're gonna see. Oh, C3. Okay, this is the one. Yeah, I'm gonna go D5. You usually go knight F6 or D5. Those are the main lines. I'm gonna go for this one. It's a tricky system because you bring your queen out early, but in general, it has some merits. And one of the things about the queen on D5 that's important is that if C4 happens, there's queen E4 check in many instances. Of course, with the knight not on F3 before, I could have taken the pawn. But the rule of thumb is you don't release the tension on D4 until queen E4 is not a check anymore. So you see here, if C4, I have queen E4 check, and then I can win the pawn on D4, that's a great situation to be in. So, yeah, this is kind of the vibe. A lot of times, honestly, it reminds me as the black side reminds me of a French Terrace, because what you have a lot of times, the C pawn gets traded for one of these, and then black has a 4 on 3 on the king side, and then white has a queen side pawn majority. All right, bishop F4 is different, and the reason it's different because I still have this queen E4 check opportunity. But what I'm thinking is, can I get greedy now and go like bishop G4? Can I have my cake and eat it too? I'm a little bit worried about having my cake and eating it too. Not gonna lie. No, I should just go E6 and just be modest because that's normally what I would want to do in this system. But man, bishop F4 is so provocative because I don't think it's normal. But I'm gonna chill. I'm not, let me not get ahead of myself. Sometimes, the pride cometh before the fall. No need to, bring the bishop. See, the thing with the bishop out on G4, sometimes queen B3 becomes a bit annoying. So just a little bit concerned. Now, perfect example. Now that the E4 square is covered, or basically that it's not going to be a check I can use, you say you release the tension. That's the rule of thumb. So now I'm releasing the tension at this particular moment where queen E4 is no longer a possibility. And actually, it actually might win a pawn here because knight takes D4 is a tempo. Am I worried about bishop B5 check after some subsequent trades? Maybe. Should I be worried? I don't know. Let's take 20 seconds to figure out whether we should be worried. So knight takes D4. If queen A4 check, then I have to go back. Then they got some development, actually. I'm a little concerned. Maybe I shouldn't be so greedy. I'm typically not a greedy player. And so that's something that also you folks should keep in mind. So, I'm not greedy. I'm chilling. I'm backing it up. I'm saying you got this. You right. No need to be greedy. That pawn is going to be an isolated pawn for the near foreseeable future. There's no reason to stress out over it. And actually, knight B3, I don't know about this one, fam. I do not know about this one because the knight on B3 is not very good. Knights on B3 and B6, by the way, in most openings just aren't going to cut it, to be honest. And I think this knight was better served going to C4 later in the game. So I'm not a fan of this knight on B3. So we'll see. But I'm glad I didn't get greedy. Let me put it like that. So Bob the Builder is building towards castling. You got to respect that. When you have playing against IQP, you want to trade minor pieces. So I'm gonna go bishop B4 check. And the idea is that if bishop D2 happens, which I think it may very well happen, I'm happy to trade the bishops. Sure. You know what I mean? I'm playing against the IQP. Trades are good. So I'm going to put this bishop on the long diagonal, and that's not an arrow. Let me draw a better arrow. And I love my chances here. I'm going to get my rook on D8. I'm going to give my king an escape square. Just, you got to look both ways before you cross the street. And don't be surprised if this battery at some point is kind of lit. It might get litty in a minute because the queen and the bishop here might be piercing that G2 pawn. So I like my prospects. And a lot of people, when they look at the IQP, it's like, oh, all about that pawn. A lot of times what it's about actually is the square in front of the pawn. So I have to make sure I have this d5 square on lock, and that's what they're trying to do with rook c1. They're trying to undermine my control. So I'm going rook d8 to continue to make sure I have the d5 square on lock. And, bishop c4, I can move my queen, but I still have enough ammo on that square. So it's not even necessarily about winning the pawn is basically my point. It's about just having that control. Sorry, rook d1, that's fine. I'm going to go h6, give my king an escape square. You know what it is. We got to do that. Bishop c4, that was expected. And now I'm going to go queen d6. I love this square because I don't want to allow knight e5. I also didn't want to allow queen f4. I think the queen kind of migrating toward the king side was kind of a thing. h3, okay. I'm going to go rook c8. Just be calm, cool, and collected at the moment. Maybe there's some trigger points on the c4 bishop. I'm thinking about floating the knight over, massaging this area. Yeah, so queen e3. I kind of like knight d5 as a tempo, but then the queen goes to e4. If I go knight e7, there's knight e5 also. What do I do? Let's make them make a decision. I'm going to go knight d5 and see what they do. If they go queen e4, I can always go back. Sometimes you just want to test the water, see what they're doing. But Bob the Builder is okay. So they gave me the bishop. I'm happy about that. Bob the Builder's playing legit though. Bob the Builder's not down material. The one issue with the problem is this knight on b3, problem piece, hard to get in the game. And this knight as well, surprisingly, is not amazing. All right, queen d3. Oh my gosh, I have a sick tactic here. So this knight on e5 is. Can I do that? No, let me chill. Let me go knight b4. I thought I might have a fun tactic, but let me chill. The time is of the essence again. I'm hitting this queen on d3. That's nice. I'm hitting the pawn a2. That's nice. And I'm going to take on a2 and be greedy because the b3 knight is hanging. So these games are coming down to the wire because of my dubious clock management, but I am up a pawn and I have a nice position. So what's not to like? So I'm bringing this knight back into the game. Maybe bring the knight to c2 next. I don't know. Actually, I'm going to bring the knight to c6. And then I'm hitting d4. And then I'm going to go knight e7. Maybe knight f5 is in the cards. And okay, we could trade. And these trades, I think, help me. I got this beautiful knight. I have a nice rook, excellent pawn structure. And even my king can kind of, oh, that's a free knight, though. So you can see that knight, really, that was on b3 was a problem for most of the game. And it's still a problem. But it's a really good lesson about, essentially, you got to have all your pieces doing a job. If you don't have all your pieces doing a job, bad things can happen. So, and now I'm walking them down into a corner. There's rook g1 in some positions. I'm kind of fishing for a checkmate, and I'm going to get it. That was why I held off on rook g1. And there you have it. Really good game. Really good game. I'm going to have to talk a little bit less because y'all are putting me under some pressure, man. So, but really good game. I think the one thing I would say early on in this, C3 Sicilian, normally you go bishop e2 or bishop e3 and not bishop f4 like you did. And the reason you go bishop e2 or bishop e3 is so that queen e4, that you kind of parry that check threat, basically, and you force me to release the tension much sooner. So I go bishop e2 later, and then, I probably have gotten a little bit more trouble than I did. So, all right, Ben, hit me. And all right, what's up? Ken Yuku Haka, how's it going? Oh, I'm white, so I got to make these decisions, these business decisions. I did b3, I did c4. I'm going to go e3 now. You might be like, E3? What's going on with E3? It's just kind of like a French thing. So we're going to play an exchange French now. It looks like I did it, but he did it. The name that they have, I'm looking at here is weird. England Gambit Decline Reverse French Variation is crazy work. Crazy work. All right. Pawn in the center would have been preferred, and I think it's because now I can push my pawn and attack this knight. I always say you want to have at least one of your pawn controlling at least one of the 4 squares, and I'm now preventing that because if you have an opportunity to kick a knight early on with one of your pawns, it's usually a good move, and it's definitely a good move here. So I have a little bit of a space advantage, or a lot of bit of a space advantage, and we'll see where that gets me. This is a pin. I don't like pins, so I'm going to parry that one with bishop e2. And yeah, I'm going to castle quickly, try to connect my rooks. You know the vibes. You know the vibes. So let's see what it was going to go on next. G6. Okay, so trying to fianchetto, that's a creative way to finish the development. You got to respect that. I'm going to castle because why not? And I'm going to go h3 because I must say I do like my bishops. Now, bishop versus knight has been one of the discussions over time. Oh, I was about to make a whole speech about bishop versus knight. He was like, nah, you're not having it. That was wild. Okay, all right, so fine, that's fine. I'm going to keep developing. Savvy not to give me the bishop. Respect, Hakosa. So what do I have here? I have a space advantage. What does that mean? It means that my pawns are basically carving out more real estate, and it means my pieces have more room to operate, basically. And with that, it means it's going to be kind of tricky for black to kind of have good pieces, good squares for some of their pieces. So that's kind of the vibe. And notice I'm trying to pick up the pace a little bit. But basically you can see that bishop and the knight might both be fighting for the f5 square. It's hard to push the c pawn because, you know, it's crazy. As I say, it's hard to push the c pawn mid-thought and then stop the sentence. My grandma's calling me right now, and like I'm wondering what she's asking. I wonder what she's trying to get at me for, because I thought she was in Costa Rica, but she must have just got back. All right, so a6, trying to prepare b5. I'm gonna not allow that. I probably could have, but you could see that my c4 pawn's covering the d5 pawn, and I was basically just trying to, I didn't want to undermine the protection. So now by playing a4, I'm gonna kind of firmly not have that problem. All right, rook b8. Wow, insisting on b5. Should we allow that still? No, I'm gonna go a5. I'm gonna put the clamps on that. And the point is now there's that weird move en passant. If b5, I could take with the a pawn. The a6 pawn will be weak, and I keep my structure intact in the center. Excuse me. That's like a sign for me to get some tea. Knight h5. Hitting my bishop. I'm not giving that bishop up. No, thank you. No, sirree. Oh no, my grandparents are great on both sides, actually. And we talk all the time. So they're fortunately, you know, alive and healthy and, you know, doing great. And they all had iPhones before me. So they're actually, you know, kind of busy people. So it's really awesome to see. All right, this is a sneaky way to get out of the pin and potentially sack on h3. Sacking on h3 wouldn't be correct, but I'm not going to allow it anyway. So I'm going to go bishop f1, tuck it back. It's always a great way to overprotect the escape square pawn. Sometimes you go bishop f1 or bishop f8. It's always a great way. And I subtly put pressure on the e7 knight. All right, so what now? I like the knight to e4. This square in f6 needs to be massaged. It seems weak. I want to take advantage of it, and that's kind of where we're headed. Oh, c6, trying to free themselves. And remember, I said this, when you lack space, you try to free yourself, but it's hard to do. And you can see d6 now is going to be loose, and that's going to be a family fork, not the children, not the kids, not the family. I mean, so that's basically what's happening here, but it's actually a really good illustration of, see how all 4 minor pieces remained on the board, right? And as a consequence, it was very hard to free yourself. And then you try to free yourself and it didn't work out. So knight takes e8, and then to add insult to industry, insult to industry, no, insult to injury. I gotta enunciate better. d6, this is a killer fork, netting more material. So yeah, so Mr. Hakosa here is or Miss Hakosa is struggling here. And I think it's just the space. It's just the space. That otherwise the game is actually pretty legit. It was just that space kills. All right, so I'm trading now because that's what I want to do. If I got a pin to work with here as well, if they play rook takes e1, I'm going to play knight takes e1 to maintain this pin. A little weird move to go backwards, but it's legit in this case. And I'm already a rook up, so there we go. So just a little bit of a formality here. So I'm going to give some checks. And yeah. Walking into the pin here. So now I'm going to go g4 to try and force through g5. I gotta confess, this is a little gluttonous on my part. I don't need more material. Isn't gluttony a sin? But anyway, I don't need more material, but the cool thing is that it actually helps me get to checkmate faster. All right, so queen takes f6, and now I don't know what this checkmate is called, but yeah, this is what it is. It's like a triangle type of checkmate with the rook and queen. All right, so interesting game for sure. I think it basically became an exchange French. I'd say the real game changer was the space. And so here I would have gone d5. I was black and said Hakosa played knight c6 and allowed me to seize the space, which basically meant that black was cramped out the whole game. So space is a major asset. Factor it in when you evaluate positions. All right, Ben, hit me. All right, Grandmaster 1 of 1. All right. All right, what are we going to do, Grandmaster 1 of 1? I'm going to play a Carol Khan this time. Is it going to be a Carol Khan or a Carol Can't? Only time will tell. And the fantasy variation. Okay. So the thing about the fantasy variation is the main lines can be quite sharp. You know when you take on e4 and go e5? Very, very sharp lines. If you're reluctant to go for the sharp lines, you can always switch back into a French. And so this is now, if white goes e5, it's going to transpose to a classical French, which is, I always thought a kind of an interesting way to handle the position if you're reluctant to go for that other stuff. Knight e2. Okay, this is an interesting line. I'm trying to figure out whether the move order is kind of funny, because if we had a normal French, right, we'd go knight d7 and then knight c2, and then they would have played c3 already to reinforce the pawn structure. I'm wondering if the fact that they didn't play c3 already means that I ought to take early. I normally don't want to release the tension early, but I'm wondering if that's the way to do it. I'm going to take. It's a weird thing, but I think sometimes they do this to play c3 and reinforce the chain. And what I was trying to figure out is because they didn't get to play c3 as quickly as they liked, they got to recapture the piece, who that favors and why. And I honestly, the answer is I don't know, but we're going to find out. So I'm going to go knight c5. Normally this bishop likes to park itself on d3, so I'm trying to deter that a little bit. I also look at the e4 square. I'm going to go bishop d7. I might go rook c8. What's going to happen essentially is I'm not going to rush to castle necessarily, even though I can do it. All right, so bishop d3. Okay. Okay. All right. So do I want that bishop? Should I take that bishop? Is it meaningful to do so? Maybe. Maybe. I also can take on d4 first and then take on d3. And that might also be interesting. So many decisions. It's honestly a tricky thing to do. Yeah, this is very counterintuitive. I'm gonna release the tension twice. And the reason is I have a bishop pair. And what I'm thinking is this is gonna be kind of hard to castle. I'm thinking I can go queen b6. Bishop b5 is an idea. Rook c8. I'm thinking that the c file might be an asset for your boy. So they go a3. I'm not sure what that's about, but I'm just trying to see. And here we go, castles, bishop b5. This is what I was sitting on. I was sitting on this idea because that's an exchange. And essentially, I think I maybe move order tricked my opponent here. All right, so I'm an exchange now. Now I gotta clean up on L9 or on L5. I would love to trade queens. I'm just gonna develop modestly first. Bishop e7 castle. and then we'll kind of, you know, do that. So b4, trying to do that so that, you know, the pawn doesn't hang when the bishop develops. That's fine. And I want to trade queen still. So controversial to some, I'm going to go queen a6. And the idea with queen a6 is I don't care about the pawns being doubled. Who cares? What matters more is getting in around these business squares. So see, queen f2, that means I got in. Now I'm in the house. So I can go queen d3. I can get in the house. And I like being in the house. I'm on the front lawn. I got my... Anyone see the Chappelle show skit back in the day when with those like Rick James and stuff? And it was like, is this a family friendly broadcast? It probably is. So if anyone knows the couch reference, because there's a specific line in it that I'm not sure I should say. So I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna leave it at that with the couch. And I want to trade queens. I'm down to trade queens. Is this the ideal circumstance? Yeah, I can actually wait. I like my queen on e4 too. And the reason I do is because then I can introduce rook c2 in. So even though I was angling to trade queens, now I'm going to be a little bit of a maximalist. Okay, so you really want to trade queens, huh? Okay. All right, that's fine. I'm going to go rook c2. I'm still getting in the house. Queen trade is in the cards. That's fine. If knight d2, there's e3. If knight g5, I'll take that knight. Yeah, no, I like my chances. All right, so knight b3. This knight would love to get the c5 square. I'm not feeling that. So I'm going to go b6. Note that this pawn I don't think is hanging because I have rook c3, which would be a double attack on the knight and the bishop. I'm going to bring my king to d7 because it's an endgame. I don't need to castle, folks. I do not need to castle. And now we're going to attack this knight, play some bully ball because the knight's defending the bishop. And once again, I'm down a million seconds on the clock, but we got the position in hand, so we're good. And you can see this knight really struggling to find work. All right, going to go g5. That was... Again, I'm not trying to be super gluttonous right now. I got a checkmate. See, this knight can't move, basically. So I'm trying to get in over here with the bishop, the rook. You know the vibes. So bishop here. Rook doubling. And, you know, again, I can take the knight, but it's not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone different. I like long walks on the beach and mimosas and all those good things. All right, so basically, yeah, the white was kind of being zugged there. That was an interesting game too. A fantasy variation Caro-Kann that I wanted no business of, honestly. So I was a little scared. I was scared here, so I said, you know what? Let's go to classical French territory, and this was more my taste. So. But I think this knight c2 thing here it's probably fine, but I felt there might have been a little bit of a difference where I could take on d4 now and yeah, get a decent position. So good game, sir, or ma'am, or madam. All right. Oh, I didn't even have to say hit me that time. All right, Riny. So I've played b3, c3, and e3. All right, it's time to play g3. We're really trying to mix it up here, you know. d5. All right, knight f3. All right, Riny's going for some mainline-ish over here. c5. Okay, so looks like a reverse Grunfeld is going to happen. Yeah, and the point with these, basically this reverse Grunfeld structures, is white is a tempo up on the typical fanfare. And if you take it, kind of becomes like a Terrace, like a Queen's Gambit decline Terrace structure. I'm gonna go b3. There's a much fodder with the move c4. If we go back a move, c4 has been played 1,000,001 times. There are a lot of lines of that. b3 is a little less popular, so we're gonna see how Riny navigates this. Because there's some other nuance here. Queen b6. Okay. All right, that's a useful move. Putting pressure on d4, trying to make me make that decision to release the tension. And I'm again gonna stubbornly. Am I gonna wait? I was gonna say I was gonna stubbornly hold the fort and go bishop b2, but am I? Should I? Will I? I can also go e3. So if bishop b2, c takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop c5, knight c6, bc6. How do we feel about that? Yeah, I think we could rock with that. We could rock with that. All right, so Riny's putting some real pressure on d4, trying to take advantage of this b3 move, basically saying not impressed at all. And I'm trying to say be more impressed. All right, so bishop c5, or sorry, bishop e7. I'm saying bishop c5 because I thought they were gonna force me to take, and they didn't. So what do I got to do now? Interesting. I can go knight c3, or I can take, or I can keep the tension. I'd love to get the knight to e4 and fork these two, but after knight c3, they're just gonna do something else. I'm gonna go. Am I gonna go e3? It's kind of modest. Yeah, I'm gonna go e3. It's modest, but basically what it does is I'm trying to take advantage of the fact the queen did not, release did not put the pressure on the d4 it needed to. So I'm gonna try and play it a little bit slowly and see where this goes. So knight bd2, not getting any fancy frisky business on with knight a4, but preparing the c4 break. And the point is with the knight on d2 is I'd love to recapture the knight. I couldn't recapture the pawn because my bishop on b2 is hanging. So I gotta kind of, be a little bit more judicious with where I put my pieces. And here we go, c4. This is the dream of a dream. This is the inception of ready type of structures. This is like a knight f3 g3 ready type of structure with Queen's Gambit declined vibes with the pawn on d5 and e6. And basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make these bishops ultimately really imposing. Wow, so rook d8, keeping the tension still. I'm going to take on d5, and I think I'm going to be very happy to land this knight on c4 if they capture the knight. So now there we have it. I have my knight on c4, and I'm loving my position now. And the reason I'm loving it, is because I think I might be able to get e4 and d5 in one fell swoop. I could be wrong about that, but if I'm not wrong, this is a great position. I can also take on c5 and play it more modestly. I can also just keep the tension, actually, and play rook c1. I'm going to do that. I like the rook lined up against the queen, and yeah, something kind of fishy about that, I think, from the black side. This rook lined against the queen is very uncomfortable. And, you might kick the knight, but then my knight comes to e5. And again, these bishops on b2 and g2 are like snipers waiting for the center to explode. So b5 is a sensible move. I'm going to go knight e5, and I'm going to take with the knight. And look at the pressure here. My bishop on g2, looking at the a8 rook, the knight on e5, looking at the bishop on d7. c4, I can take that one. So they saw that pressure, and they were like, nah, son, we're good. But this is a free pawn, and I'm going to get that bishop pair. Don't think I'm not going to take that bishop either. Do not think I'm taking that bishop. Not take that bishop either. So I like my chances here. Basically, the queen has to move. Queen b6. Okay, that makes sense. I got to take this bishop, right? Yeah, I got to take that bishop. They could take on b2, but I got that covered. I can go rook c2 back, defend the pawn before I move the knight away. And this bishop is really nice here on this diagonal. All right, yes, rook takes d7. And now this bishop on b2 is loose. I could go queen e2. I can go queen b3. Maybe initiate another trade. What do we want to do? I'm going to go queen b3. Why not? Trades are good when you're up. I'm up a pawn. I have the bishop pair. A trade is certainly not the end of the world. I also could have gone queen c2 or queen e2 and kept my queen on the board, but I don't know. I'm cool with it. Yeah, rook b8 was expected. Um, That pawn is dropping. I didn't fully appreciate that. But I think I'm still going to have a nice position, actually. Why, might you ask? It's because I'm going to have some pressure on their back rank. Okay, and they agreed with me, so they're like, nah, we don't want to take that one. And now I'm going to give this check. And basically, the bishop pair is the dominant theme here. That's the reason why this position should be good for me. I'm going to trade. I don't love trading the bishop there, but I also don't think it's the end of the world. I got to speed up, though. Yeah, this is very unambitious, but the point is that I'm winning a critical central pawn. I'll have a 5 versus 4 that I think will be very difficult to kind of mobilize. And now I think my king is in the square. If I calculated that correctly, it was. And I'm not going to let this king come in using opposition of my pawns, actually, opposition with my pawns. And now I'm going to round up the forces. I gotta say, with low time, it was a little scary trying to make that work, though. I'm not gonna lie to you, because my king was barely in the square. Barely. All right, now we're just gonna walk the pawn down the yellow brick road and use some opposition tactics, and we got this. Now, the key variation, that was a good fight at the end, Ryan. Shout out to you. Was here, right, with rook b5. I just got to go to this position real quick. With very little time, I had to judge if this trade was appropriate. And frankly, if I had less time or if I was not sure, it would have been safer to just move the rook behind the pawn. You always want the rook behind the pawn as an attacker or defender. But I was like, oh, I think it is. And I thought I could get there in time. And fortunately, I was. But if I didn't get there in time, it would have been a problem. So, yeah, Riny, thanks for the game. Really interesting game. And yeah, I tried to throw you off with the B3 move early. So, all right, Ben, hit me. All right, Gamer XR, what's going on? How you doing? I love to get a sense of where people are from, by the way. So if feel free to drop your drop where you're tuning in from in the chat. You know, I love that this game is a global game. So, all right, E4. All right, we're gonna go E5. We're gonna go double king pawn, knight F3, knight C6, bishop E5, a Spanish or a Ruy Lopez, we say in the US, but it's a Spanish elsewhere, the Spanish game. And I'll go for the old stuff with A6. Everyone and their mama plays knight F6 today. The Berlin, which is really popularized by the one and only Vladimir Kramnik, who honestly has revolutionized most openings in chess today. So, all right. So I'm gonna go for B5, bishop B3 castles, which is inviting the marshal, and C3. My man played C3 with the quickness, played it like it's expecting it. So I'm gonna not go for it. That's what wow, D4 was really fast too. Wow. All right, so I'm gonna go bishop G4. Normally they play H3 to stop this pin. And so by playing it quickly, with D4 quickly, I get this pin. It actually makes it hard to defend the center. I'm now going to take on F3, and the problem here is that if you recapture the queen, the D4 pawn is hanging, but if you capture the pawn, your center is, or your king side is a little sus. So I like black's chances here, basically. That's the long and short of it. The structure would be spoiled. What's up? How are folks doing? What's up, Grandmaster Guy? All right, so the took on F3. I'm gonna take on D4 now, and I have a pawn here. And more importantly, actually, after this recapture, I get the bishop too. And now, because I'm greedy, I'm trying to figure out, do I actually want the bishop right away, or do I go c5? And this is a legitimate question because the bishop isn't going anywhere. So, you know what? I'm gonna go c5. Actually, no. Would it I shouldn't be greedy, should I? Should I be chat? Should I be greedy? That's always the thing to ask yourself sometimes. Sometimes in life you could be greedy, you could go c5. They're gonna go bishop e3, then I could take, or I could just chill out. Just chill out. Let me just chill out. All right, they took with the queen. The reason I chilled out is because I thought after a takes b3, it might have actually been, yeah. Queen b3, I'm less enthusiastic about. All right, I'm going to go queen d7. I'm connecting my rooks. And I might introduce this idea of queen e6. Because honestly, your boy isn't greedy. Your boy likes to trade queens. Your boy likes to win endgames. And so now the queen went back. I got my queen in active square, and I didn't have to do anything for it. I'm going to go rook e8. Eventually put more pressure on the e4 pawn, bishop f8. That's a nice move to remember. Rook e8, bishop f8. Tuck the bishop back. You know, we know bishops are valuable. Open up the rook against the e4 pawn. And, well, you know the vibes. And I'm a pawn up, so yeah, it's a good vibes. So bishop f4, okay. Developing, they're connecting the rooks too. Gotta respect that. And I kind of want to go d5 here. And liberate myself. I might get e5 in the mix though. To go d5 or not, that is the question. You know, I'm gonna go g6. No, I'm gonna go knight d7. I'm gonna put the knight on e5, and then I'm gonna go g6 and cut out the knight on g3. And I'm getting boat raced on the clock, so we gotta resolve that situation. But I'm gonna go g6 first. I win knight d7 before g6, so that e5 wasn't happening. It probably wasn't a big deal, but it was at least why I did it. Yeah, b3, a2 was hanging, but I didn't want to take that one. And I think the knight on e5 is pretty good. It's definitely much better than the knight on g3 at the moment. And I need to start motoring these pawns up the board. I'm just kind of shuffling here, but I need to motor these pawns up the board. So that's what's going on. That's what the vibe is. Rook d5 makes a lot of sense. I'm gonna go knight c6. No, am I gonna go knight c6? Now I'm gonna go rook c8. We gotta motor these pawns up the board. I gotta stop fronting. I gotta get something going. And what better way to get something going than to put your rook behind the pawn, right? Rook behind the pawn. Rook behind the pawn. Yeah, if there was no increment Mason, I would have to talk way less and play way more. Or at least, you know, it would be less comfortable. But to be fair, I could see how less comfortable would make a more attractive viewing experience. All right, so I'm going c4 now. I'm trying to open things. If they keep it closed, my knight has a very awesome outpost on d3. So I'm finally getting things going on the queen side. A lot of times you just want to play on the side that you're better. So I obviously have more stuff over here, right? This awesome real estate over here. So just play on the side you're better, you know, that normally will work all right. Rook d1, putting more pressure on the d6 pawn. Am I concerned? Maybe. All right, I'm going to take this one and then put my knight on c4. Great outpost for the knight. Spin my bishop around one day. Maybe I should double my rooks first to overprotect d6 pawn. I don't know. I'm just making moves here. I'm just running around my head cut off over here. Um, oh, A4. That's a big time move. All right, I'm gonna take that though, because I did see this fork. Thank goodness I have a fork, because otherwise that was undermining my knight on C4. That was problematic. Um, hopefully now I can clean up on out5. Hopefully. Gamer's trying to flag me again. Trying to flag me again. All right. So we take that one. Oh, you got to take back the knight though with the rook, because now I'm just now I'm a lot of stuff up. Now I'm a rook up. So that was a key detail though. Mm. So I am trading. I'm doing the best of my ability to trade. And Gamer right down to the wire again. We both had 11 seconds, but fortunately my position was a little bit better. Yeah, what's the takeaway from that game? Honestly, it was a normal Ruy Lopez right up until you went for D4 before going for H3. Normally you go C3 and then H3 and then D4, so there isn't this pin on the knight. Now, to be honest, I actually lost a game here with Black where I actually got this mission, and you can play this way and go I think it go D5 or Bishop E3, one of these moves. But it's just this pin is annoying to work with, so I would recommend going H3, then going D4, and then it's a much smoother game. So good game, Gamer. Ben, you can hit me with another one, and insert DJ Khaled voice. All right, so we've played B3, C4, E3, and G3. Let's play A3. And you guys are going to be a hater on this move, but this is actually a useful move. And now when it's transposed to Sicilian, and I'm covering that square. So holler at that. And now we basically have a reverse Sicilian, like a little con dynamic where A3 is going to be useful. See, it's covering that B4 square, and it's a game. All right, so what do I want? I want to play this like Scheveningen. So I'm going to play my knight BD2, bishop E2, really modest, etc., etc. And we'll see where that gets me in life. I'm a little surprised by rook E8. It is a move. I'm a little surprised. I thought playing for F5 was going to be the way to go, but this is also fine. I'm going to castle because castling is a good thing. And I'm going to go for B4. Now, Black now could have stopped at A5. Then I would go B3. But okay, I'm going to get in B4 now. And I just think there's a lot to like about this position. My bishop gets to this good diagonal. My knight can come to C4. If F4 happens, there's even potential for the knight getting to E4. So bishop F7. I like knight C4. Also, rook E1 is actually useful as well, because then after F4, I have bishop F1. So I'm going to go rook E1 first. And again, remember we talked about the rook E8, bishop F8 maneuver with Black. Now we have rook E1, bishop F1. And the reason the maneuver is so good here is because in the event that F4 came, I would have defended the E3 pawn without having to push to E4. All right, so knight F6. You know what? I think that gives me a bishop. I'm going to go knight G5. And just for 1 split second, this bishop now is struggling to have real estate, because if you go somewhere on this diagonal, I would have taken it, and bishop d5, there's e4. So I'm loving that I got that bishop. That's step 1. Step 2 is this king is now kind of airy. Isn't it kind of airy? It looks kind of airy to me. So I'm going to go, I need to open the position, right? So how do I do that? I can go queen b3. I can go d4. How do I open this position? If d4, they're going to go e4 for sure. For sure. And that closing of the position might help them. I'm going to go queen b3 check. Just check the temperature in the room. might go king g6, and then that would be a funny move. It would be funny because it's kind of it's airy, but it actually might be correct also. Hmm. So by the way, I never got a sense, folks in the chat. Oh, so look at this king g6. Isn't that cool? Isn't I see it? That is a cool move. That is a very cool move. It just is. All right, so I'm gonna bring this rook to c1. There might be some exchange ideas there. But instead I'm gonna go bishop f3. Look at the c6 knight there. And yeah, you gotta show love for that maneuver. Queen e7. I'm gonna go queen c2 now. I'm just kind of eyeing this diagonal, and I'm also putting the clamps on e4. So, but yeah, by the way, where are folks from? I want to know where you're from. So please tell me what city you watching from or town. Where are you tuning in from today? I'd love to know. All right, knight e7. So then they move the knight. But now I get this, I'm going to snipe that pawn on b7 and drop back. And I got the bishop pair on the pawn. That's a winning position. So pawn is like +1, right? Bishop is a bishop pair is like at least half a pawn. 1.5 or higher is winning, just for folks counting at home. I'm going to go g3, gives my king an escape square, and it blunts the bishop on this diagonal ever so slightly. And now you're going to hate me for it, but I'm going to go queen c6 because I like queen trades. When I like to close my tab. So, wow, we got Sweden, we got England, we got the Netherlands, we got Northern Ireland. Wow, we got Argentina, of course, but in Barcelona now. Shout out to Ajay. This rook would love some work, so I'm gonna pass like ships in the night. I'm not gonna allow that trade, and I'm gonna put this on lock. So this rook is in jail. That's what this rook is serving a sentence, and it's not getting out anytime soon. Yeah, this rook is in solitary confinement because whenever the rook moves, then I'm gonna basically move my rook, and it's gonna be sniped. So what I did with the queen trade is I eliminated a risk there in a way that was just convenient. Now I get to talk to you. I get to say complete sentences. Life is breezy. All right, so I'm gonna double the rooks, put pressure on c7. Wow, I'm gonna go bishop a3. Don't forget, bishops can move backwards and forwards, left and right. Bishop c5. Look at it. And now look at this. This is tactic time. So that rook on a7, struggling to find work. Pow, kablow, kablooey. And you could see, I told you that rook was in jail. So that's what's happening. This cool dog is about to find out. I'm going to take that. And then I'm going to go d4. And yeah, the pawn structure here is not super mobile, so I'm just making sure to control everything. Bishop e6 is also an idea, but we're going to trade this first and then go rook a2, take on a5. And you could just see here the extra piece is telling. So, yeah, we're in there. Rook a7. All right, so I'm going to go rook b7. I'm being a little gluttonous. I want to queen this pawn. So I'm going to go b6. Yeah. So my point is I was going to spin the bishop around to do it, but they gave me the opportunity to do it this way. So we're going to do it this way. We're going to do it live. Anyone know that reference? Do it live. Maybe not. All right, so I'm going to make a queen. By the way, for folks at home, do you know how to because I'm sure I have auto promote on and I'm going to promote to a queen here, but do you know what button to hold if you don't want to auto promote? Because I would love to know for future utility, just in case I need a knight at some point. It's all right, let me see if that works. Oh, it did. It did. Thank you. Thank you. Because, there's some situations where the stalemate becomes a thing. I'm going to get opposition here, so we have no such thing. And there are fortunately a lot of pawns lying around. And then we're going to we're gonna be good. So imagine having auto promote on. Most of the time you need auto promote on, my friend. Like that's like, how many times are you gonna under promote? All right, so that was a cool game. That was a Sicilian con. I mean, it was a little bit weird with A3, but again, there's a method to the madness, and we got a position kind of like here. Now when it started to turn, in my opinion, my humble opinion, is this bishop f7 and knight f6 dynamic, because I caught you out with knight g5, and the problem is losing this bishop pair is hurts your position because you've softened up the light squares, you push that f pawn, so I had some targets to work with. So yeah. After rook b5, could you take the knight on g6? Ooh, that's a good question. I could have. I elected not to, and because there was rook b1 check. So I could have done that, but I was like, I'm already up material. Let me not be gluttonous. So all right, Mason, what's going on? Ben hit me already. So I played e5 last time. Played the Caro Con. You know, I'm going to play c6 again. The reason I'm going to play c6 again is because before we had a fantasy variation where it was like d4, d5, f3. And then I played e6 and it transposed to a French. So we didn't even get a real Caro Con last time. So unless Mason goes for the fantasy variation, we'll get a real proper Caro Con so you can see how that works. And if honestly, if you have like openings you want to see me play, I'll do it. So oh, I think I missed a question in the chat. I think I missed a question in the chat. Would you consider an open dialogue with Kramnik? Yeah, so basically part of my job at chess.com is to, basically talk to, important stakeholders behind the scenes about various, things that are going on at chess.com and things we want to improve and so on and so forth. And basically fair play is something that is really critical, and that a lot of the top players have have strong opinions about, and we're very much willing and able and ready to listen. So I guess basically the short answer is I've had conversations with many players, including him, and I'm always open to having some of these conversations. Sometimes they cease to be productive, because what does happen at times is you'll have a situation where that we might be in an impasse because there might be a disagreement or a perspective, and then sometimes it ceases to be productive, and that's definitely been the case in some instances with Kramnik. But I'm always keen to have these conversations, because one thing that we forget when we do this stuff all the time, like, and there's the back and forth, and you're saying this person accusing this person of cheating, or this person maybe being right or wrong, whatever, is in most instances, we actually have the same goal, right? And the goal is to have clean, fun chess, and kind of eradicate, cheating from the game as much as we, possibly can, right? And I think a lot of times is, if you think about, by the way, this is something in relationships too. If you think about, it being two people or more than one person solving a problem, like that, you guys are working together to solve a problem, as opposed to being kind of adversaries, you can get a lot further along, actually. So that's kind of the way that I try to come at and approach some of these things. And a lot of people have strong opinions about it, so sometimes you have varying degrees of productivity when you have these discussions. But I guess that kind of answers the question. So would we consider an open dialogue? Of course. And I've had these conversations. Are they always like super productive? Not always, but that doesn't mean you stop having them. All right, so what's going on here? I have a nice position, in part because I have really nice counterplay in the C file. And when the kings are castled opposite sides, a lot of times it just becomes a race. And so the question is, whose pieces can flood the zone faster? My pieces are looking over yonder on this queen side. White's pieces aren't flooding the zone here. My king is pretty much chilling. All these pieces are not near my king, right? This would be the general vicinity of my king. And so you could see that I'm probably going to be hitting faster, but, time will tell. And I have this tactic of bishop takes a3, which I am sitting on. I start with rook c4 because it's a nice tempo gainer, but bishop takes a3 is the real stunner. And I think I might be able to execute it now. Or do I sit on it another move? Bishop takes a3. Is there some funny business with knight takes d5? Maybe. I'm going to sit on it. And the reason I sit on it is because I also have rook c8, and I can go rook takes c2 as well. So I have a lot of little ideas here. Now I'm being gluttonous again. That is aggressive to basically say, nah, I don't want that pawn. I can do more. But I feel that strongly. Look at all these pieces basically flooding the zone. So that's kind of what's going on here. Cool. So anyone watching the NBA playoffs, who we got in the finals? Mavs, Celtics, who we got? All right, I think I have a tactic here. Rook takes c3, b takes c. I'm very bad at tactics, just FYI. But I must say, this one I think I can do. I like to think of it in terms of my move, their move, my response. I usually do 3-ply. 2 of my moves and 1 of their move. So I'm going to take this one, and then they're going to recapture, and then I'll take there, and then I'll start thinking again. So you're going to take on c3 to open up their king. This king feels very airy to me. And then if they recapture the queen, then I just take it with the other rook. So after b takes e3, bishop takes a3, check. And I think then my queen can dart into b2 with the checkmate business. So that's what's going on there. Feeling pretty good. Whoa. All right, they didn't take, so I guess I'm going to go for the queen now. And there might have been a savvier way to do it, but I just wanted to close my tab. Sometimes you just need to close your tab. I'm giving my king an escape square so I can breathe. And yeah, I'm just closing out. Oh, that's a rook. I'm going to take that one. I was angling for the pawn, but if the rook was not going to be protected, I could definitely go for it. And I don't even want this rook to start roaming, so I'm going to give a check there. You might say, take the rook, take the rook. I don't have to take the rook just yet, okay, guys? Okay, folks, I'm going to take here, and then I'm going to go for the checkmate. Woo, man, every game I have like 10 seconds left on my clock. This is a little stressful. But yeah, that was actually a Caro-Kann. It turned into something a little bit like different because it was an advanced Caro-Kann eventually. It was a 2 knights Caro-Kann that turned into an advance. And one of the things about the advanced Caro-Kann usually is you don't want the knight on c3 because it's in the way of the c pawn. So I think this transposition was favorable for black, and I think it's why the position became convenient pretty quickly. But in general, if you're going to play that 2 knights Mason, go for h3, try to get my bishop, chase my bishop. A lot of times he'll just take on f3 and he'll get the bishop pair for free. So just go h3, get that bishop pair, and then you might be well on your way. And if they go bishop h5, you can actually go g4. Imagine that. Actually, sometimes they take first. I think that's the more precise way. Then go g4, and then knight e5, and then you're chasing down that bishop. Or you go h4. You could chase it down like this. It's actually also really good. So, but yeah, y'all are pretty tough for these ratings. Are sometimes you don't know what these chess.com ratings. You guys are pretty tough. And look at this. I'm playing terrible player right now. I don't believe it. All right, so where are we? I played a3, b3, c4, g3, and e3. But I haven't played c3. I've actually played c3 in a classical game before. It can sometimes transpose to London systems. It can sometimes be kind of what am I saying? It can be sort of Carol Khan structures. It could do all types of stuff. Queen c7. Wow, they really want me to play d5, huh? All right, I'm going to play d5 and oblige my opponent who's basically insisting that I take the space. So I'll do it. And yeah, we'll see where this goes. Knight d2 was admittedly a blunder. I just hung the d5 pawn, and fortunately it wasn't noticed. I wanted to support the e4 move, and I didn't want to go c4, to be honest, because I thought it would be kind of inviting this Benko-S structure. So I decided to play it without going c4. Sometimes this square can also just be an asset for white's pieces. So, I'm gonna go a4. I'm not sure whether I want my bishop on e2 or c4 yet. So that's the justification. And I think I'm gonna go c4 actually. And the point is, it just puts the clamp on the e6 break, which is the typical Benoni style break in these positions. You typically, black's going to try and free himself like that, get the rook to e8, knight d7. Okay, I feel that. I see that. I can sense that the intention with that move. I'm going to go queen e2. Knight b6 is not really a great score. We talked about the knight being on b6 in previous games, actually. And the knight's not so good there. E5 is under control because I can capture it like that. Yeah, we'll see. You know, one move that could be savvy here is to play knight g4, and the idea would be that the knight would then be able to play to e5 and be reinforced. So knight g4 here would be really smart. If knight g4 is not played, I'm going to go h3 because I really don't want to allow knight g4. And I think basically queen e2 allowed knight g4. I think that was actually a mistake. So it's on me. It's on me. Wow, the queue is crazy. All right, so knight b6. Okay, so this one I kind of anticipate. I figured that if I drop my bishop back to b3, no harm, no foul, just because I'm controlling the c4 square multiple times. I don't think c4 is an issue. And again, this knight on b6 never impresses me, at least. Might impress some other people, but not your boy. All right, so bishop g4. Okay, okay. I guess I'm going to castle. Why not? Knight d7, trying to put more pressure on the e5. On e5, maybe attack this pin. I'm going to go a5 now. I think it's the right timing because now this knight on b6 can't even go back to d7. So it has to go back to c8, and that's not the best square. So, all right, so bishop takes f3. I got to take this one, right? A b6, bishop e2 is not on what I want. But now I got the bishop pair. We know how I feel about that, right? Right? Folks know how I feel about that by now. And knight has to go back to c8, not the best square. And I'm going to go bishop f4, basically fighting for that e5 square. I would really love it if they had to recapture with a pawn. It wouldn't be ideal. I'm going to go h4. Now, you might say, what are you doing? Why are you shoving this pawn? e5. Ooh, terrible player. Forgot about en passant because my bishop is here. So I can actually take this one and then recapture with check on e6. And this is, I think the tides are turning now because with that, the king will be a little bit exposed. h5 might have more force. And I'm just going to drop the bishop back in a hot second so that I don't lose it. And essentially, I'm a pawn up, but the king safety is a huge feature here. All right, so 95. Yeah, should we trade? Yeah, I'm cool trading. I'm a pawn up, and then I'm going to go rook d1. Oh, no, wrong rook. I don't want to give up this pawn. I guess it doesn't really matter, but I don't want to give it up, so I'm going to go this rook to d1. And h5 is in the cards. F2 is well defended, so I don't feel some type of way about. And 97, unfortunately, walks into what is this called? I would call it a double attack, but is that what a fork is? I'm not even kidding. Would that have been if we went back here? Is this a fork? I didn't learn chess with the traditional terms, so like I don't know the difference between like a fork and a skewer and like stuff like that. I just know that there are two things attacked, and so I'm going to take one of them. And there are some fun checkmating patterns on the horizon now. I could maybe go rook g7, bishop e5. Oh, that looks really cool if it works. But you know what the problem is? After rook takes g7, rook takes e6, my rook is actually trapped. That's crazy. That is crazy. So I'm not going to do that, but that would have been cool if it worked. I'm going to go bishop d7 and double attack again. So one of you, so Chess Foo says rook fork, and then Aquila says skewer. So, like I said, I honestly don't know the answer. I just think, knowing like two things being attacked is kind of good enough. The names are just kind of, sometimes you can know how to do something without knowing the names. That's all I'm saying. All right, so I'm gonna snap off that rook. I'm gonna take that. Nine. I got more than enough material, and I'm not gonna even try to defend the pawn anymore. So we're gonna bring the rook into the fray. We're gonna bring the queen into the fray, and that should be enough things in the fray. Speaking of the fray, do you remember that song, the Where Should I Go Wrong? I lost a friend somewhere alone in the journey down. So remember that How to Save a Life? That was a good song back in the day. I might be dating myself now. But yeah, I'm old. So anyway, this is appalling, but I'm actually trading queens. It's appalling because it was so unnecessary. But yeah, it is what it is. And there we go. There we go. So that was a tricky game. Actually, I think really where it turned was with that e5 move, just with the en passant dynamic. But to be honest, earlier I really think it was important to go for knight g4. I really think my queen e2 move was kind of whack, and this knight g4 move would have really annoyed me because it would have made sure you got firm control of the e5 square, and that's what's up. So, all right, Ben, hit me. Mr. Flanigan, what's going on? All right, d4. So I went d5 last time. So I'll go knight f6 this time. We might transpose. Oh, here we go. We have a London on our hands. Okay. All right, so I'll test you. I'm gonna go d5, c5. Everyone loves the London. Everyone loves the London. And it is a lot to love, really, truly. I'm not even hating. All right, so we have this bishop d6 London, and it's a very interesting system. Very interesting system with a lot of nuance, actually. And we're going to see if my man Daniel is hip to the nuance, because this queen z7 is actually doing something a little bit different than normal. And my man Daniel was kind of hip to the nuance, but he didn't catch it. He didn't catch it all. So I'm about to help him catch it. Right now, this queen d7 bishop d6 is all a battle over the e5 square. And so with this battle, you can't let me have it. And right now, with knight bd7 now I have 1, 2, 3 pieces on this square, which means I actually can play e5. And what Londons do you see the black player getting to play e5, right? So that's kind of the gist here. Oh, castling queenside, by the way, aggressive. I respect the aggressiveness because that's ambitious. But basically, it's that control over the e5 square now that is, really nice. So it feels like black is playing white, actually. So if you want to assist me against the London, I do kind of recommend this bishop d6, queen c7 business. It's legit. And I'm going to be really aggressive. And so I'm going to play b5. And you might say, Kassa, you're giving up a pawn. What are you doing? And I'm saying, yeah, I'm giving up a pawn, but I'm getting an open file, half open file. So if you take that pawn and it's taken, we're going to get busy on that file. And so that's what I'm angling for in this instance. Now, bishop goes back to e2, all fine and dandy. And now I got to figure out how to put more pressure So I'm gonna go for G6, maybe? Is that a question mark? Hmm. How should I handle things? I want to continue developing, that's for sure. I'd maybe love to put the bishop on f5. I'm gonna go G6. I like putting the bishop on f5. It's annoying. It is a little bit weakening of my f6 knight. But yeah, I think it was the king now is especially going to be exposed here with the king on b1 because now there's going to be some pressure. So, and yeah, basically the knight on e5 is important to trade the knight on e5 before allowing this bishop f5 takes d3 because now I win the queen. So yeah, was the b5 pawn poisoned? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. Let me see it. Let me see what the word on the street is here. I'm gonna see what the eval tells me. Was b5? Yeah, b5 was a little poisoned. Actually, bishop takes b5, rook b8, like I was saying. Bishop e2, g6. Okay, I actually played all right. This is actually good. It just felt like black has more space. It seems like that it's a small cost to pay to open up a line. So yeah, there you go. There you go. All right. Just having fun says, hey, Kassa, hate to say it, but E5 was not the best. What was the best? You gotta tell me. You gotta tell me. I want to know what the best is. All right, so I think I've ran out of all the moves. I played A3, B3, C3, G3, E3. I got too much respect for folks to play H3, so I'm gonna play D4 now. We're gonna put a pawn in the center. We're gonna put a pawn in the center, and we're gonna see what happens. We're gonna put two pawns in the center. This is kind of the center, right? And we're gonna play it really chill. Bishop b4, interesting. Check. Okay. I'm gonna go knight d2. A little offbeat business. A little offbeat business. Bishop e7, okay. I'm gonna go b4. I'm gonna take more space. I'm essentially delaying the development of the bishop on f1 because I want them to take and develop for me. Now, admittedly, they don't have to, oblige me. Um, it's almost like Inglorious Bastards. I don't know if anyone has seen that movie, but it's like oblige him. Like I'm basically trying to get black to do me some favors. Now it doesn't have to happen, but that's kind of when I'm trying to get to happen. So in the meantime, I'm just trying to make the useful moves on the queen side. Bishop b2, taking space with b4. Maybe there's a rook c1 in my future. I don't know. Do I have time for one more slow move like queen c2? I'm gonna pretend that I do. I don't know if I do, but I'm gonna pretend that I do. And queen c2 also stops knight e4 ideas, so maybe it's not so bad. Villa Rubla says, I have 73% win record with black, but only 54 with white. What can I do? Man, it sounds like you're a good chess player. If you're winning the majority of your games with white and black, it sounds like you're doing the right thing, honestly. So I don't even know if there's sensible advice for me to give you there, frankly. This is an interesting moment. Interesting moment alert. The reason it's interesting moment is because I think c5 here might be really strong. And the reason is because I keep the pawn chain intact. I can take on b5 with the bishop, and the knight doesn't get the b6 square, which could be a nice. I remember I was, basically giving the knight a hard time on b6 a bunch of games, but actually here it actually is kind of useful there. So I think c5 is actually really strong here. And the point is b4 is no-go because a takes b4, the rook on a8 is hanging. So I didn't see this in advance, but I think this is actually a really good way to play. And if you go b6, I go c6. And then I win the knight because knight b8, c7 is a fork. So this is kind of reminiscent of these bishop f4, queen's gambit decline positions. If you know, you know. But I think I have a great version, like a really good version. And yeah, wow, I must say I did not see the c5 business before, but I'm loving the way this pawn chain looks. I need to castle. That's true. I need to get my ducks in a row, maybe get a rook to c1 or b1. I like my, maybe or c1. I like my queen being protected. But other than that, this is as good as it can get from an e3, early e3 against the Queen's Gambit decline, for sure, for sure, for sure. So knight b8 trying to blockade, knight c6, okay. I'm gonna castle because that makes sense. And then I'm gonna go rook c1 because I don't want to allow b6 under any circumstance. And I think I want my other rook on b1. And yeah, I think I'm chilling. Is knight takes d4 a threat? I can recapture the knight, so I think not. But I don't know. Do I want to even think about it? Not really. So I'm going to go bishop d3. I don't even want to think about it. And yeah, okay, my last few moves probably weren't very incisive, to be honest. And the reason I say that is because, yeah, this b6 move. I really shouldn't have allowed b6 to be a possibility. And the fact that it is, that's on me. That's on me, coach. So, black's probably equalized now because, or nearly equalized, because it's hard to continue to establish a grip here. But we're gonna pretend that I'm good. So I'm gonna play rook b1. I'm gonna actually take with the d pawn and argue that I have a little something there, even though I probably don't. I do have some pressure. These bishops all of a sudden would come to life. Okay, declining that trade. Wow. Now it gets interesting. I'm gonna take. I'm gonna go bishop c3. Looking at the a5 pawn. It's interesting. I might have just blundered the a3 pawn, but I do have bishop takes a5, which is a pin. I gotta recapture the knight to protect the b1 square. Black is fine. Black is totally fine. I've definitely kind of ruined any advantage I had. There's still a little something based upon the a5 pawn potentially being a target. But for the most part, I think black is totally fine. So I'm going to have to kind of hustle here on the clock a little bit. So what does that look like? Okay, I have some pressure on the c file, so I'm going to go bishop e1. I need to get a full view of this knight. Okay, a4. Can I go? That's a good move. What to do? I'm going to go queen e2. And then knight e5. And then rook d1. Just trying to get out of the way of any problems. I kind of want that bishop. Uh-oh, I got to move on the clock. I got to move on the clock. Faster, faster, faster. I'm doing what's called turtling. I'm just chilling in the cut, not doing anything at all, really, just waiting for my chance, waiting for my chance. It might never come, but it also might. And black is broken through. Oh man. So here we go. Knight d2 is and definitely an idea in one of these positions. This might be a holdable ending, to be honest. And the reason is it's a 4 versus 5. I'm a pawn down. My pawns are on the wrong color complex, to be sure. But in general, it's going to be pretty hard to kind of do anything. Oh, I blundered my rook. All right, I blundered my rook. Let me resign this one. Wow, tough fight from the chess runner. Very impressive. Here's the thing. The position that the chess runner put me in tremendous pressure around here. Tremendous pressure. Golf clap. Basically, even though I have the bishop pair, this a3 pawn is so weak. It's so sensitive. And so the issue with that is that as the game wore on and the trades happen, you could see this pawn sticks out like a sore thumb. I desperately want the a3 and the a4 pawn to be traded, desperately. And the chess runner was like, "Nah, you're gonna suffer. You're gonna have to deal with that. You're gonna have to you're just gonna have to suffer the whole time." Now I did have a chance over here. These rook end games are closer to a draw than they are to a win. But the thing is defending them is going to require a lot of precision. And honestly, patience was warranted. Shoving the pawns and putting more pawns closer to his king made them targets. So very, very tricky game. I think I had a huge advantage, but I allowed b6. And that was my downfall. I was so proud to have found the c5 move and then bishop takes b5 because black's pieces are in trouble here. But really, my next two moves were bad. Rook c1 was not that impressive, and neither was bishop d3 back because they both allowed the b6 break. And once the b pawn is traded for the c pawn, there are no problems in black's position. So job well done. And yeah, Ben hit me. I got to recover from that one. I'm dazed and confused. Oh man, this is this username. I don't. God is dead inside. Wow, that's I feel like there's a story to be had there. I feel like there's definitely some discussion to be had there, but this is probably not the forum for it. So we have another c3 Sicilian. So the last time I played d5 and we saw kind of the queen coming to d5 and so on. This time I'll bring the knight to f6. And the idea is that now the pawn goes to e5. The knight makes this kind of Alekhine dance, if you will. Black takes on d4 and then normally goes d6. What is the difference between this structure and the other structure? Well, basically in this structure, the knight, it gets kicked around a little bit instead of the queen. But actually, as far as the pawn structure is concerned, it's quite similar. Usually in these lines, there does wind up being an isolani. And what does the isolated pawn do? It gives the side with the isolated pawn more space, and then they try to basically, they basically try to use that space to attack. And now that's why I think bishop b5 check, which happened a few moves ago, to try and trade the light square bishop should be in black's favor. Because every trade typically neutralizes any attacking potential that white may have. And it makes the IQP or the isolani more of a weakness. And so that's something to just keep in mind when you're handling these positions is the trades kind of favor black. Now, I also want to maintain that isolani control. So I could castle, but then after knight takes e5, e takes e5, it's not the end of the world for white. So I'm actually going to go bishop e7. And the idea is simply to be able to recapture on d5 with the queen, because I really want to recapture the queen. That's what I want. I want to have that grip on the d5 square with a piece instead of a pawn, because if I recapture the pawn, I'm not looking at d4 anymore. All right, so rook d8 makes sense to me. Lining up a little bit more on that square. I'm gonna go h6 too. Never hurts to give yourself an escape square. And there's always this choice here whether to take on c3. Like, I could transform the position from a are they gonna sack on h6? Should I be worried about that? I'm gonna respect it. I'm gonna go bishop f8. We saw this in a previous game. Tuck the bishop back, defend the pawns. Basically, what I was gonna say was I can always transform it to a hanging pawn structure where I take on c3, and they normally play b takes c3, and then I have a new kind of target to work with on the c file. I could do that. I could also just chill. I'm gonna just chill for now. I'm trying to see. Sometimes you just chill. You allow your opponent to kind of make more decisions. Nothing wrong with that. So yeah, so just chilling. I am thinking about maybe moving the knight at some point. There's some nice real estate on the queen side. I'm reluctant to do that because knight e5 is a thing. So we're just kind of waiting to see how things develop. And yeah, we're just chilling. So anyway, back to the NBA Finals discussion. I like the Mavericks, and the reason I like the Mavericks is because I've been so unimpressed with the Celtics' journey to the finals. And I also think they were an overrated regular season team. And I don't think the way they play basketball should win at the highest level. But anyway, b4 weakens the c3 square just a little bit too much for me. So I'm going to take on c3. And now you can see this rook bearing down on the knight is an issue. And so I have discoveries with this knight. And so it's kind of like, which one's the best? Knight takes b4 is looking the sauciest because then I'm hitting the queen. I also have knight c2 forking ideas. That looks kind of saucy. And if queen d2, which is actually a supernatural move, was rook c2 would have won the queen. So queen b3. Can I get knight c2? Can I get a little knight c2? I think I will. And I'm a down on time again. What else is new? And 95, that's a nice one. And I'm going to go queen d5 and invite the trade again. And also, I am hitting the rook on e1. So at the right moment, that might happen. And again, this is a good question for the folks at home, given what we talked about. Now, it's a little bit different because I'm up material, but what's the proper way to trade on queens here? Should I recapture with the pawn or should I recapture with the rook? You'd know the answer based upon how you want to deal with the IQP. So if you want to deal with the IQP and maintain the pressure on it, you always want to recapture with the piece, and that's what I'm going to do here. And now I'm going to get gluttonous and take on a3. I really don't need that pawn, but it is a good pawn, and now I have two connected passers. So, and I'm running them up the board. So b4, a5, etc., etc. Yeah, sometimes chess is can be a little bit. Ooh, and that knight, maybe my rook can go back, so I'm going to take that one. Yeah, this is kind of how you want to handle the IQP stuff, frankly. It is the way to handle your business. So now the pawns run down the yellow brick road. Shout out to Dorothy. And yeah, it's tough sledding. It's really tough sledding. I could have gone b2, but I did not because I'm really being kind of greedy. Like I wanted to make sure the pawn's queened, and so I didn't want any sacrifices. And there we have it. Good game. It was a tricky one. I would say the key thing though is if you're gonna play the c3 Sicilian in these IQP positions, do not trade pieces or be a willing trader. And so put the knight on f3, put the bishop on c4 or d3, and get cracking that way, because the trading the light square bishop, I can argue that this bishop is the strongest minor piece you have, because you're pointing right at h7 after I castle. So that would be that's the vibe we're on. So all right, Ben. I think we might only have a few games left, if I'm not mistaken. Ajay can also feel free to let me know, but that's I think what might be happening. But we're gonna get into another one, and we'll worry about it when we have to worry about it. So, oh man, the next one is the last one. Man, we got all these people waiting. But we're gonna do this again. So I appreciate everyone that tuned in. And I guess I went for D4. I did C4. I did all these things. I have not played E4, so we're gonna best by test, best for last. That we're gonna play E4 this game, and I want to entertain. Can I entertain? Is that okay? Can I entertain? I'm gonna entertain. I'm gonna go for the King's Gambit, the often disrespected and usually underrated. Now, knight c6 is a tricky move. If you take on e5, queen h4 is devastating. So I know I got to go knight f3. That's the extent of what I know. So this is basically it, guys. All right, so d4, I guess g5, I guess, question mark. Okay, they know stuff I don't know. And I guess I can attack the knight. That can't be bad, can it? Okay, this one and one more. Okay, so we are, this is not the last game, so I don't have to say my goodbyes just yet. My goodness, what is going on here? So if I take that one, they take this one, then I take that one, and then they take, and then I take. I feel like that should be fine for me. I know that these lines too, where you could sack a piece, you could sack the knight, but usually then the diagonal's open for the bishop, so I'm reluctant to do that. Should we have some fun? Am I a fun guy? I don't know. So wait, takes, takes. Oh, there's queen h4 check. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna be a little frisky. I do not know the consequences of this. It seems really suspect to do this, but we're gonna, prayer works sometimes. So we're gonna like Kawhi, I'm a fun guy. Now, this is the move that really scared me. And it might mean this is just bad, because if this knight stays on the board, I have a problem. So I'm going to go queen d3 or queen f2. Which one? Queen f2 looks better. I stop queen h4. Check. So I'm going to go queen. No, queen f2 allowed. Yeah, I'm going to go queen f2. I need to, reinforce my breathing exercise. I need to go breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Some openings just are not, all right, they're gonna give me the knight. So Bruno is gonna kindly donate the knight. And I probably needed that donation, honestly, because I was kind of sweating there around what to do. And now Bruno wants to trade too. Do I want to trade though? Well, my bishop is attacked, so I don't really have a choice. I could go bishop e3 back, but it doesn't change much. So we're gonna trade. And I'm sorry, folks. We have another end game. Oh my goodness! But I'm a pawn up here, which means something. Means something to somebody. It means something. It means something to me. And I have a space advantage, right? So we like space too. And Ibshi says Kassa plays like the old masters. It's because I'm old. I play like the old masters because I'm old. So there you have it. So anyway, so bishop e2 just developing. I'm not allowing any knight h5 business hitting my bishop. I think I want to castle kingside and then quickly put some pressure on the f6 knight. So that's what I'm doing. I could also castle queenside. No, I'm castling kingside. I like this rook. It's not really about the castling as much as it's about bringing the rook to f1 expeditiously. And after knight f6 now, bishop g5 looks like it's fire, because the knight has to go back to g8, which can't be impressive, can't be that great. And I'm thinking if knight g8, bishop h5, and look at those bishops going to work there. I'd be putting some pressure on the diagonals. I'd be looking at f7. Let me know if that's too many arrows. Let me know. But I'm trying to get bishops on h5. I'm trying to get the bishops in the living room where one of them is on the front porch. The other one is, chilling behind the yard. I'm trying to get them closer. So h6, I'm going to take this knight, and I am up a piece now, so that's awesome. And what do we want to do now? We want to trade. We want to get some things off the board. I'm going to take this pawn. This is a little gluttonous, but it's legit. I got my rooks going. I'm using the word gluttonous more today than I have in my life, just letting you know. And b5 is annoying me, so I'm just going to go a3. Just a little subtle move just to keep my knight on the c3 square. Get my rook over to f1. By the way, there are those chess words that are like chess words that you might use more in conversation than other ones. Obviously, gluttonous isn't one of them. But one word I definitely use there's some words I use in conversation more than normal words is dubious. Like, it's like when you're a kid and you're playing a video game or something and you learn this vocabulary because you've been playing these games. For chess, it is for sure dubious. Dubious is that one. The other one is prophylaxis. I say the word prophylaxis or prophylactic way more than most humans should. I'm just letting you know now. I'm defending g2 here. That is a prophylactic move against defending against the in preparation of any pressure on g2. But yeah, it is wild how we use these words. Anyway, my king is out of the way. I describe, when I say dubious, I say like, oh yeah, that was a dubious decision there, or oh, that was, it's like, again, it's so unnecessary, but it's like, yeah, I gotta like that, I use these words, so like, it's just a funny thing. b4 is just kind of putting the clamps on this king, which I'm trying to keep boxed in, and now I'm just making some filler moves. I was actually hoping the rook moved away so I can get in e5, but evidently it's not happening. So I'm going to have to get in this way. And if h5 happens, I might just trap that rook with bishop e6, which would be kind of bully ball. It would be it'd be kind of bullying, but it would trap that rook. Note that it doesn't have many squares to go to. Instead of putting snacks, instead of using the idiom between a rock and a hard place, I'm going to start calling those situations a zudzwang. Okay, wow. That's different. That's different. All right, I'm making a lot of filler moves that aren't necessary. Let me go and win the game. So I'm going to put my bishop, I'm going to get my bishop in and around here, and then I'm going to try and use the rook to do something. But I just had a lot of filler moves, like a lot of nonsense just now. All right, so now we're in. I'm giving a check because I can, and I just need the knight involved. I need the knight to be on b6, so I'm going to try and get it there or there. I got to be a little bit careful I don't stalemate my opponent. Because right now the king actually has nowhere to go, but the rook can move, so. And rook d7 is mate. And there we go. We're in there. So, all right. Good game, Bruno. I'm actually super curious real quick, folks, Ben, before you. Oh, he switched on me. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I was curious about that King's Gambit because I actually don't know. Someone in the chat might tell me how you're supposed to play that. All right, e4. So what have we played? We've played the French, the Caro-Kann, the Sicilian, e5. We haven't played a Scandinavian. We got to play a Scandinavian. This is actually one of the rare openings where you get your pawn break right away. Imagine that, right away. And I'm going to go for the queen d6 line. It has a interesting reputation. Let me put it like that. It's a move that the Scandinavian, I would say, is an opening that's a little underrated. But it's not like It's not amazing. You know what I mean? Like, it's just underrated. I'm gonna play it with G6, which is is actually a very creative way to play it. It's almost like a Grunfeld style setup, because you played the D5 break already, except that your queen is on D6, which is weird, and it's really hard to get in C5. But there's some merit to this. And the one thing about the Scandinavian that makes it playable, by the way, because a lot of people don't a lot of times you can know openings by the pawn structures, and the Scandinavian, quite frankly, is a poor man's Caro-Kann. The Scandinavian and some Alekines actually are poor man's Caro-Kanns. Why is that? You get the D5 break-in, but it's a poor man's Caro-Kann because of the development issue. Now, here's the thing I want to convey. Uh-oh, wait, am I trapping my queen? I'm about to convey how to trap my queen. Knight D7, bishop F4, queen B6. No, I'm not trapping my queen. Okay. The thing I wanted to convey was that, what I want to convey, what I want to say. I wanted to say something. Something about the Caro-Kann. Oh, yeah, and the Scandinavian. The Scandinavian is a poor man's Caro-Kann. Basically, what I want to say about the Scandinavian is the reason the Scandinavian is even playable as an opening is because the D4 pawn feels isolated. Now, feeling and reality are two very different things, but it feels isolated. And it feels isolated because the C pawn is being blocked by the knight on C3. And so that's kind of the vibe of this, of what it's why you can get away playing a Scandinavian, is because a lot of players don't honestly know how to deal with that feeling, with that pawn that feels kind of loose and is not ideal, and the knight being on C3 can be misplaced, etc., etc. I'm trading queens again. Y'all hate me. But I'm getting to spoil some structure, which I like. Actually, should I take this one or should I just wait and go knight C5? It's a decision. Actually, it's one of the rare situations where I'm not even sure I should actually spoil the structure, because this bishop is so good, I might be able to do it on the next turn. Nah, I'm gonna spoil a structure. What are we saying? What are we saying? We're acting like I'm not gonna do it. I have an awesome structure now. These pawns are compromised, to say the least. And the rook is going to have a hard time entering because the business squares on my side of the board are covered. Always got to look at those business squares. Can the rook come in here? No. Can I come in here? No. Can I come in there? No. So as long as the business squares are covered and the structural dynamics at play remain the same, we're good. All right, bishop d5, interesting. I'm going to go rook c8 or b8. Rook c8, b4, is that a problem? Maybe. I'm going to go rook. I kind of want to go to c8, though. I'm going to go rook b8. Just put my rook on a dark square. Just chill out. Chill out. B4, I can just drop the knight back. We're just chilling. Just chilling. I didn't want to allow any bishop b7 dynamics. That's why I didn't put the rook on c8, although I'm sure tactically it probably was fine. I'm just being a little cautious Carol over here. All right, rook c8 now. I'm careful not to put the rooks on the d file right away because I don't want to trade everything just yet. I really just want to control the entry squares. And I'm also trying to make sure the bishop doesn't have squares on this diagonal. So if I get an e6 next and I kind of do some other stuff, yeah, then we're good. Okay. Bishop goes back to a2. I'm gonna go h5, take a little bit more real estate, take a little more space, and then e6. I'm just chilling, basically, honestly. Not really doing anything too crazy right now. Knight e4. Okay, they want me to correct their structure. I don't know if I want to correct your structure, bro. That's a decision right there. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take, and the reason I'm going to take is because I think I still have an advantage even in this position, because the king is so close to getting to the business squares. So my king now is going to go on a little Tour de France here on the dark squares. It's going to march all up in there. And I think that's actually a really difficult ending for white to play. So king, e5 check, king f5 tour. This is a Tour de France right now. This king is Sherman's marching it up for folks that paid attention in American history. We're about to burn everything. And I'm taking that pawn, and I'm still up in there. B4, now this knight has a nice outpost on A4. And again, this king is not really helpful right now. It's not a supportive partner. It is not a supportive partner. I'm going to take on C4, right? Yeah, I am, because rook C8 is a pin. And I think this is all she wrote, because you could give a check and bring the rook to E4, but my knight comes back to B6 and I still have that pin. So I think this is game, set, match for Youssef. And then we're going to, again, Sherman's march. This king is going all the way. Touchdown. And there we go. Now we're going to box him out. I love the sports announcement. Now we're boxing this king out. That's what I think of opposition like. I think of it like boxing out, honestly. Not even tripping. And let me bring this knight over, because we don't need more stuff, right? We took enough from the candy shop. We don't need more treats. We just need to bring this knight over, support the family business. And that's a fork. And then we're going to take this one, and then we're going to walk them down. Cut. All right. Does anyone know how to checkmate with rook and king? I'm going to show you right now. So, all right. So I'm not going to make a queen, because I'm going to show you how to do the rook and king. So there are two ways. One way is to line the king, is keep the knight, one way is to keep the king a knight's distance away. So now I'm going to make a waiting move. And so if the king runs into me, then I have an opposition check. So we're a knight's distance away, and we walk it down like this. Now, this is the long way, but it's the more reliable way for new people. So now the king are lined up. Now I give the check. And now, again, I want to be a knight's distance away to make the chase, because if I go here, they just dodge me. So I'm going to go king C3, be a knight's distance away, move my rook away. And here we go. And now I have the knight's distance already, so I just need to make a waiting move. And then knight's distance, and voila. There you got it. Wow, so we hit the gamut with the openings. Good game, Youssef. There was some tricks there early on. I think in general, again, if you have more space, you don't want to trade minor pieces. That's the way, that's the lay of the land. So you went bishop h6 really early, and that was kind of helpful for me. So, but there you have it. We played the Scandinavian, we played the Caro-Kann, we played the French, we played the Sicilian, we played e5. I think we did the damn thing. So, Ajay, is this where we wrap up? What do we do? What do we do now? What do we let the people in on? What do we let them know about?
So congrats. Oh my gosh, that was actually like a lot of games and a lot of educational content as well. I've been actually learning myself a lot about, I don't know, even like the pair of bishops and many things, many concepts that you actually like were mentioning, and it was super fun. So thank you so much, Kassa, for this time. I know that like you have a lot of things on your plate, so thank you for being here with us, with the community, and playing with everyone here. Just so you know, we have, look at this, what we have next. So on June 21st, we will have Danny Wrench. I think like the time we have to adjust, because we will have a different, we will have another super big event coming soon. I don't know if you know what event I'm talking about, but it's Chess 960. So anyways, like something more like you will hear from chess.com next week. And thank you for everything. I was actually like eating pizza and watching like as a football match, but just watching your games, and I had really good time. So probably the whole community actually, like I've seen the comments, and everyone was enjoying and having a blast. How did you feel?
Awesome. You know, it was a lot of fun. It was it's I don't actually play that often online these days, so it's really cool to kind of, talk to people around. We had some good representation. We had Sweden and Northern Ireland and Norway and England and Spain, and we had a lot of great representation, so that's awesome. And definitely tune in for, upcoming events. Like Ajay said, we have some good ones coming up. We just finished the Hyper Bullet championship, and now we're gonna move on to Chess 960, which is one of my favorite variants. So I hope that people tune in and enjoy it and play, right? Like, why not? Why not? It's gonna be super fun.
Yeah. We'll have a lot of events for the community, more Banter Blitz, so everyone can play and join the events. And just a last message, like if you have any suggestion or anything about the upcoming Banter Blitz, and I'm talking to the community, like let us know in the club, in the chess.com community club, or like community@chess.com. What's actually, no, that's our email, right? Community@chess.com, isn't it? Well, anyways,
That sounds right to me.
yeah. Okay, that's our community email. So let us know, and like we will invite someone, anyone that you want. We will try, but yeah. Anyways, thank you so much, Kassa. Thank you, Ben, and everyone there in the chat. And hope to see you all on June 21st with Danny. Just a last reminder over there. So June 21st, we will have the one and only Danny Wrench. And yeah, we keep in touch.
All right, peace.
Thank you.